Hello and welcome to NJBIZ Conversations. I'm your host, Jeff Kanige. My guest today is Debbie Hart. She is the president and CEO of BioNJ. Debbie, welcome back.
Thank you so much. It's good to be with you.
Well, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it. I know our viewers know BioNJ. It's one of the most prominent business organizations in the state. It's been a while since we spoke, so I'm just curious right now, what should our viewers know about what's happening at BioNJ? What is the organization doing right now? I know you have a full calendar of events for the fall. What's coming up? What should folks know about what you're doing these days?
Sure. Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here and to share some of what BioNJ's been thinking about and working on. And we've been busy, as I'm sure everyone is, right? But in terms of the highlights on what we've been working on, so we are, we remain as we have always been. It's the pillar upon which we were founded. Deeply committed to policy and
Sure.
advocacy, and certainly we've been kept, pretty busy at the federal and the state level on that front, in particular at the federal level. We want to make sure that innovation is happening unencumbered here in New Jersey and beyond, and that patients can access that innovation. And so we're focused on that area in terms of public policy. We have continued our work, which we laid out the groundwork for a couple of years ago. We've continued our work on health equity and clinical trials, and
Okay.
in the coming weeks, we will be releasing a white paper, and it basically outlines where New Jersey stands in terms of participation in clinical trials by diverse populations, and it compares New Jersey to 4 other states. So we're pretty we're excited to launch that, to get that out there. We conducted that work in concert with Medidata, which is a very prominent provider in that area. And so again, that will be coming in the next few weeks. We continue our work as we have in the last 5 years on the value of medical innovation, and telling that story and making sure that policymakers and others really understand the work that the industry does. And in particular, recently in that area, we've been focused on pharmacy benefits managers. And also, Jeff, you mentioned that we do a lot of events. We do have a pretty full calendar coming up between now and the end of the year. At the end of this year, we will have hosted about 30 events plus. We have our C-Suite Summit coming up on Thursday of this week, and our AI Digital Health Day coming up on November 18th at Stevens. And then, we're just beginning planning for a biopartnering conference, which will happen again in Jersey City in the spring. So that's some of what we've been working on. Just I wanted to mention one other thing. So in July, we announced a strategic collaboration with Tech Council Ventures, which will further accelerate life sciences deals and allow our members to tap into their funding on that front. So we're thrilled about that as well.
Okay. All right. Well, there's a couple things I wanted to get a little further into. The first thing I wanted to ask about, though, is I think we may have talked about this in the past, or at least I may have read about it. The program on clinical studies and equity in clinical studies. I know you said the white paper is coming out soon. Can you give us just a sense for where that is now? What is the situation improving? Can you tell us anything about how that work is going?
Sure, and the white paper will actually include some recommendations on how we can see it improve even further.
Okay.
New Jersey fares pretty well when in terms of the playing field compared to the 4 other states, but there are certainly some areas where we can do better. We focused in a couple of disease areas, and so those comparisons will be highlighted there. But
Okay.
again, New Jersey has done okay. Let's do more.
Okay. All right. Now, New Jersey has a reputation for being home to a lot of biopharmaceutical companies. It's a critical part of the economy here, and your organization has said that companies based here are responsible for more than half of new FDA approvals, I think, within the last couple of years. what is your status? What is your assessment of the state of the industry now, and in New Jersey in particular, but also nationally? I mean, since it is so critical to the state's economy, a lot of folks I think would like a little checkup on how these companies are doing. Is the industry growing? Are there new companies coming in? What are you hearing? What's the status at this point?
Sure. Yeah, no, there are absolutely new companies coming in, and some of the companies that are here are in fact growing. You mentioned, an annual statistic that we report on. And last year, earlier this year, we reported on last year's numbers. And in fact, New Jersey companies with a footprint in New Jersey were responsible for just more than 50% of
Okay.
all new FDA approvals. When you look at us compared to the rest of the country, clearly we have, the lion's share. And so we're pretty proud of that. And we're thrilled that that continues. And companies are again coming here. And they are being supported by programs from the Economic Development Authority, the New Jersey Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology, just highlighting the commission's work. So the commission invested $16 million in 274 startups, and we're talking the very earliest of the companies, the early stage entrepreneurs and innovative companies. And again, 16 million. And then there are programs through the EDA, such as the Innovation Evergreen Fund, which is relatively new. That's creating new opportunities. And venture capital is an area that, as we look back over the history of New Jersey, it's an area that we have always wished we would have more of. So this innovative program will allow more of that to happen. And then, just touching on a couple of the companies who've come here, set up shop here, are growing here. So Solaris is an innovative cell manufacturing company. They have a facility in Bridgewater where they have smart technology. They just did a ribbon cutting a few months back. So it's exciting to watch them grow and bring in new clients. And they've announced a couple over the recent months. GenMab has been here for a long time, and in fact was a spin out of Medarex many, many years ago, and has grown internationally. And in fact, recommitted to New Jersey and is developing an innovation park expanding an innovation park in Princeton Forest Village. So Gilead Sciences opened its state-of-the-art East Coast hub in Parsippany Troy Hills in August of last year. The list really goes on and on. I think through the work of the EDA, Choose New Jersey and others are helping support these companies, and then the companies themselves just making it happen.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like the industry is relatively strong. I mean, there's not a whole lot of cause for concern at this point.
So, there are always things that we can do more, we can do better, right?
Okay.
But yeah, in fact, there are lots of opportunities for growth, and we're seeing growth. On the flip side, certainly the economy right now is not as friendly as we might like it to be, in particular to this industry. A lot of the investment dollars are being held on the sidelines, and we're hoping that will change in the near future. We are seeing some, there've been a few IPOs recently, so that's exciting and encouraging. We do need to see, certainly more of that. There are some challenges, but overall, New Jersey is in a pretty strong place.
Okay.
And we always look at the tax structure in New Jersey, and we always think that there's room for change on that front.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You mentioned pharmaceutical benefit managers. There's been a lot of talk about that, a lot of criticism. Mark Cuban, for example, a very prominent voice, complaining about their work. What's the industry's relationship to pharmacy benefit managers now, and what do you see going forward as the main challenge there?
Yeah, so the relationship is an important one because they do work hand in hand in terms of getting drugs to market. Some of their practices are less than desirable in terms of the cost that they add to the healthcare structure. And so at the federal level as well as the state level, there are some initiatives that And certainly there's been a much brighter light shown on that industry and the impact that it has on the cost of healthcare, the cost of drugs. And so that, I think that light is really important. And
Okay.
we're certainly supporting the continued shining of that spotlight.
Okay. All right. You mentioned what's going on in Washington. I am curious about your policy priorities. Let's start first in Trenton. What's going on in New Jersey now that you're concerned with? Is there anything that you're raising red flags about, or is there anything that you're happy about that our friends in Trenton are doing these days?
Yeah, I mean, we have historically, because of the large presence of the industry, historically, Trenton has been relatively supportive of the industry,
Right.
and looking for ways to help it. And one area that actually is moving forward after its establishment a couple of years ago was actually, but it's taken a while to get off the ground. But so the Rare Disease Advisory Council is underway and is beginning to do its work. And so that's clearly a policy initiative that will have repercussions, positive repercussions in the near and long term, and will help, frankly, rare disease companies, rare disease patients. So we're encouraged by that. And then, but again, overall, New Jersey is relatively supportive. It's semi-quiet now, in terms of
Okay.
the calendar.
Right.
Everyone's focused on the election at
On
this
the election.
point.
Yes.
But then, moving to the federal level, certainly, we're hoping that PBM legislation at the federal level does advance. And the IRA. And the first round of the IRA, the companies and the therapies that were basically price controls were set on them,
Right.
and we will see the second round happening in in the coming months. And so we're very concerned about that. That has downstream effects in terms of investment in the industry, in the public markets, in the private markets, and it causes a great deal of concern. And at the end of the day, it will prevent patients from accessing innovative medicines. So it's a big concern.
That was the next question I was going to ask, was what's coming out of Washington. What seems to be consuming a lot of policymakers in Washington is the question of the cost of prescription drugs. And as you said, the Inflation Reduction Act, there are some mechanisms to try to deal with that. You and other leaders in the industry have suggested that those kinds of controls would stifle innovation, would reduce the amount of funds available for innovation. Is that the biggest challenge you think that your industry faces right now, at least with what's coming out of Washington?
Well, I mean, basically, generally, it's always funding,
Right.
and where support for innovation will come from. And certainly the IRA is putting, a damper on the industry and the potential, and the potential for patients to access. At the end of the day, that's why all of our companies are doing what they're doing. It's all about access to innovation.
Okay. So you did mention funding. You did mention the state of the economy. What other challenges do you think, what do you hear from folks out there about what they're concerned about moving forward?
So talent, I mean, talent is, is a high priority for
Right.
us.
Sure.
In fact, I just left a call where we are planning for the session on Thursday at the C-Suite Summit, which will focus on talent, among many other things, answering the questions, what's keeping the C-Suite up at night. That's what Thursday's all about. But talent is certainly part of it.
Okay.
Talent, whether it's cell and gene therapy talent, whether it's the traditional, talent, as well as things related to AI. That is an area where we and everyone else is focused, and there will be advances, there will be developments. We want to make sure at BioNJ that we're helping move those forward and helping our companies, supporting our companies as they are facing them. But talent is definitely one of those topics keeping the C-suite up at night.
Okay. Now, a lot of companies do locate here because they think that that the educational system and that the workforce here will provide the kind of pipeline they need. Is that not the case in New Jersey now? I mean, where does that stand? And are the schools, the colleges, the universities, the secondary schools, are they all producing the kinds of folks that you need, with the focus, for example, on the new technologies like AI? Is there enough being done now in the educational system to make sure that that pipeline stays robust?
Well, I think New Jersey has been particularly creative on this front in
Okay.
terms of developing talent, whether it's the New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development or the New Jersey County College Consortium, or other groups in individual colleges, colleges and actually high schools. And, there is very much a focus on talent and how we develop it and how we support it, how we make sure that the companies get what they need. And while it's one of those things that we always have to be thinking about, and when you look at some of the newer technologies, making sure that we're staying ahead of the curve, but always New Jersey, tries to be ahead of that curve. And I think in this particular time, we are very much seeing that come forward from our academic institutions, our policymakers, and others.
Okay, and there's been some developments. There's a HELIX in New Brunswick, for example, coming is moving along. Liberty Science Center in Jersey City and HAX in Newark. There's been a concerted effort on the part of some parts of the government, at least the Murphy administration in particular, to really make investments and to nurture these kinds of businesses. Is that helping? And if so, how important is all of that to your industry?
And I'm glad you brought that up, Jeff, because you are absolutely right. And to hear it from you, as opposed to my, saying it, is really helpful. And absolutely, I mean, the Murphy administration's been extraordinary. The EDA and some of its programs are a direct result of being part of the Murphy administration. We again, there are challenges for sure, but there are just so many new innovative things that have come about, such as the HELIX, as you mentioned. What's happening in Jersey City is extraordinary. HAX, there are strategic innovation centers. There are different accelerator programs, the likes of which we never saw before in New Jersey. So we're pretty excited about, our ecosystem and the opportunity that's being realized and the potential for the future.
Okay, so then overall, then before I let you go, what are you thinking about for next year? What kind of priorities are you hearing optimism about next year? What do you think the next 12 months might bring?
Well,
What are you planning for? What are you anticipating? I mean, I'm not asking you to predict the future. I'm just curious about what you see coming down the road that you're going to be working on.
Right. Well, again, we're going to be focused on the economy, and we're hoping that and doing anything we can to help turn the tide in terms of our companies finding dollars. Certainly, I mentioned the rollout of our white paper, so that will be coming out in the next few weeks, and we will be promoting that. And then again, it has policy recommendations in it, so we will be trying to advance those policy recommendations as well. We have a time off for clinical trials initiative that we are encouraging companies to offer, and many of our companies are embracing it. We'll be rolling out something out on that in the next couple of months. And then also we'll be doing a BioNJ Give Back Day, a day of good, encouraging our companies to do that. And we're seeing some of that as well. Our calendar is always action packed with lots and lots, including the Biopartnering Conference, our annual meeting in February. We hope to see some of our folks, some of our industry folks and beyond there in February. So yeah, we're busy and we're having fun.
Okay, well, that's great. I hope you come back and tell us, give us an update at some point. Maybe not so not so long in the future from last time.
Be more than happy to do that, and I will very much look forward to that, Jeff.
Okay, very good. Debbie Hart, President and CEO of BioNJ, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Until next time, everyone, stay safe.